The quiet town of Havenwood, nestled deep in the Ozark Mountains, was a place where time seemed to slow down. A place where everyone knew their neighbor, and secrets, they thought, were hard to keep. But in the fall of 2022, a secret long buried was about to claw its way to the surface, shaking the community to its core. The leaves were turning, painting the rugged landscape in hues of ochre, crimson, and gold. Long shadows stretched across Havenwood as Jacob Whitaker, a hunched figure in a worn, threadbare coat, walked into the small, antiquated police station. The building, a relic of a bygone era, stood as a stark reminder of the town's unchanging nature. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and the quiet hum of fluorescent lights. Sheriff Roy Carter, a man weathered by years on the force and etched with the wisdom of countless unsolved mysteries, sat behind his desk. His face, a roadmap of wrinkles and lines, reflected the countless stories he had witnessed within those walls. The fluorescent light cast a stark contrast to the gloom of the autumn day, highlighting the weariness in his eyes. He looked up as Whitaker entered, his expression a mixture of curiosity and guarded suspicion. "Mr. Whitaker, you understand that what you're saying is a very serious allegation?" Carter asked, his voice a low rumble, tinged with suspicion. He had learned over the years that people often came to the station with strange tales, fueled by desperation or delusion. But there was something in Whitaker's demeanor, a raw vulnerability, that made him pause. "I do, Sheriff. I killed someone. Back in '84, Whitaker replied, his voice trembling slightly, the words hanging heavy in the airless room. It was a confession delivered without bravado or malice, but with the quiet resignation of a man who had carried a heavy burden for far too long. Sheriff Roy Carter had seen his share of strange cases in his 30 years on the force. Domestic disputes that flared into violence, petty thefts born of desperation, the occasional drunken brawl that spilled out of the local tavern. But this was unprecedented. A man confessing to a murder that no one knew had happened. He leaned forward, his gaze intense, studying Whitaker's face for any sign of deception. "And who did you kill, Mr. Whitaker?" "A woman. I don't remember her name. I called her Rose." Whitaker's eyes darted around the room, as if the memories were ghosts haunting the corners, their spectral presence palpable in the silence. He seemed to be searching for something, some anchor in the swirling vortex of his past. The year was 1984. Ronald Reagan was in the White House, and the small town of Havenwood was much like it is today, peaceful, isolated, a world unto itself. Jacob Whitaker was a young man then, a recluse even then, living on a secluded property a few miles outside of town, his life a solitary existence punctuated by the changing seasons. He was an enigma to the townspeople, a shadow on the periphery of their close-knit community. It was an accident. We were arguing by the well. And she fell, Whitaker explained, his voice barely a whisper, as if he were recounting a dream, a half-forgotten nightmare that still had the power to terrify. "Fell? And you're just now reporting this? After all these years?" Carter's disbelief was palpable. He couldn't fathom the idea of someone carrying such a dark secret for so long, the weight of it slowly crushing their spirit. "I panicked. I was young. I buried her." The weight of the confession seemed to physically burden Whitaker, his shoulders slumping further with each word, his body language conveying a profound sense of remorse and regret. The deputies investigated Whitaker's property. Yellow crime scene tape, stark against the vibrant autumn foliage, surrounded an old, stone well. The well, a relic of a bygone era, stood as a silent sentinel guarding its dark secret. It was a place of shadows and whispers, a place where the veil between the living and the dead seemed thin. Despite his initial skepticism, Sheriff Carter couldn't ignore the man's demeanor. Jacob was genuinely distressed, haunted by something. There was a raw, visceral quality to his confession that spoke of truth, not fabrication. And so, they followed him out to his property. An old, overgrown well sat in the middle of the yard, half hidden by weeds, a malevolent presence in the otherwise serene landscape. The sheriff's deputies began the grim task of excavating the well. The air was thick with anticipation and dread, the silence broken only by the rhythmic thud of shovels against the earth. The work was slow and arduous, each shovelful of dirt bringing them closer to the truth. Or so they hoped. What they found at the bottom of that well wasn't just dirt and water. It was a nightmare. The remains were skeletal, but there was enough evidence to confirm Jacob's story. A woman, buried for nearly 4 decades. A rusted locket, its delicate chain tangled amongst the bones. A fragment of fabric, the remnants of a dress. A delicate bone structure, all whispered of a life violently cut short. They were fragments of a forgotten life, a life that had been abruptly and brutally extinguished. But who was she? What was her story? We've got nothing, state. No missing person report from that time. No dental records match. It's like she never existed, Carter said over the phone, his frustration mounting with each dead end. He felt like he was chasing a ghost, a phantom from the past that refused to reveal its secrets. The investigation hit a brick wall. Rose remained a ghost, a Jane Doe lost to time. The only man who knew her was Jacob Whitaker, and his memories were fragmented, clouded by years of guilt and isolation. The investigators delved into the town's past, poring over old records, interviewing longtime residents, searching for any clue that might lead to the identity of the woman in the well. They spoke to the elderly, their memories fading but perhaps holding a key, a forgotten detail that could unlock the mystery. I remember her laugh, the way her hair smelled like wildflowers, but her name, it's gone, Whitaker recalled, his voice filled with a profound sadness. He closed his eyes, trying to conjure her image, but it was like trying to grasp smoke. The town of Havenwood was shaken. How could such a dark secret have remained hidden for so long? The discovery brought a chilling realization that even in the most peaceful of places, evil can lurk and the past can come back to haunt the present. Fear and suspicion began to fester, eroding the trust that had once been the bedrock of the community. Neighbors who had known each other for years now looked at one another with a newfound uncertainty, wondering what other secrets might be lurking beneath the surface of their tranquil lives. The investigation took a dramatic turn with the discovery of an old, leather-bound diary in the town archives. Eliza, a young librarian with a passion for local history, stumbled upon it tucked away in a dusty corner, its pages filled with the elegant script of a bygone era. The diary seemed to pulse with a hidden energy, a silent witness to the events of the past. Met a young man today. He was different. Called himself Jacob. He gave me a rose, read Eliza from the diary, her voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The words, written so long ago, seemed to leap off the page, bridging the gap between the past and the present. The diary gave them a name, Elara. It also painted a picture of a passionate, volatile relationship between her and Jacob. A relationship marked by intense love and bitter arguments, a dangerous dance that ultimately ended in tragedy by that well. The diary entries hinted at a dark secret, a hidden side to Jacob that no one in Havenwood had ever suspected. They spoke of a man consumed by jealousy and possessiveness, a man capable of both great tenderness and sudden, violent rage. As the investigation progressed, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Sheriff Carter learned that Elara had been an outsider in Havenwood, a young woman with dreams and ambitions that clashed with the town's conservative values. She had been vibrant and full of life, a stark contrast to Jacob's quiet and reclusive nature. Their relationship was a whirlwind of passion and conflict, a clash of two opposing forces that ultimately led to destruction. The diary also revealed that Elara had been pregnant at the time of her death, a fact that added another layer of tragedy to the already heartbreaking story. It was a secret that Jacob had desperately tried to conceal, a secret that now lay buried alongside Elara in the cold earth. Jacob was led away in handcuffs, his face a mask of sorrow and regret, the weight of his crime finally crushing him. He offered no resistance, his spirit broken and defeated. The camera lingered on the well, now covered with a simple wooden cross, a stark reminder of the secrets it held and the life that was brutally taken. Justice, of a sort, was served. Jacob Whitaker finally confessed, and Elara, after 38 years, was no longer nameless. Her story, once lost to the shadows of the past, was finally brought into the light. But the case of the cold case confession leaves us with haunting questions. How well do we ever truly know those around us? What darkness can lurk beneath a veneer of normalcy? And how long can the truth remain buried before it claws its way back into the light, demanding to be heard? The search for Elara's family continues. If you have any information, please contact the Havenwood Police Department. The town of Havenwood is forever changed, the echoes of the past reverberating through its streets, a constant reminder of the darkness that lies beneath its peaceful facade.